Hello, folks, and welcome to Got Your Back, live stream edition. Brought to you, as always, by our good friends over at Mr. Dirk. Going to check in with Jason Strudwick in just a moment. It's new set night at the Strudwick household. Yes, we have done some upgrades. Some upgrades on the set over at Struddy's house. Wasn't without its difficulties, but we got her done. I think it looks better. We'll show it to you in just a second. Oilers with a win tonight over the Ottawa Senators. Sure, fans didn't love the first period, but the result ended up okay as they pick up a win. We're going to break all that down, and Leon Draisaitl hitting the 100-point plateau once again. Got Your Back brought to you by Mr. Dirk. They're located just off White Avenue and 102nd Street. I was wearing a Yope suit, which is a brand from, I can't remember where it's from overseas. From Mr. Dirk. It's my favorite brand that they carry. That's the cool thing about Mr. Dirk is when you go there, if you're looking for suits, they have all sorts of different brand names, all sorts of different fits. And sometimes you got to kind of look around for that perfect fit. And when you find a brand you love, man, just works. And that's the brand for me. Yope Suits. Go figure. But all kinds of fantastic brands for suits, shirts, coats, overcoats, pants, dress shoes, whatever you need, and lots of casual clothing as well. So highly encourage you to go check out the great stock over at Mr. Dirk. Check in with Sterling, Dan, and the entire crew at Mr. Dirk. Okay, here we go. I feel like we need a drum roll of some sort. For years, we've been staring at, well, a year now, roughly, we've been staring at that pasty background, that off yellow wall color, kind of off-putting, off yellow, blending in with his cadaver-like skin tone. So we decided it was time to spruce things up a little bit. So folks, here it is, Struddy's new set. There he is. What's going on, Struds?
What's up? Not much with you today. Feeling good about myself. Feeling pretty confident. Confidence is high.
Yeah, well, it should be. It's a good look. And sorry for everybody just listening to this in podcast version. Go check us out on YouTube. And we're also streaming on Twitter, so you can take a look. But yeah, I don't know. We got the matching wood paneling behind you.
Yeah.
And I don't think we should lie to people. It was a bit of a struggle for the two of us to put up.
It was. We're actually in the same room. We're just side by side, but I want to look like it's different. But it was a bit of a struggle. I think we bonded in our quest to mount this up. And the nice thing is I have many, many holes in my wall now. So I'll have to redo the whole thing. I'll probably have to tear the house down actually to get this drywall done properly.
Can you believe? So I brought a stud finder and all the tools necessary. We located the studs and then went to hang the wall panels. I mean, not a lie, Struds. How many screws did we put in the wall before we actually hit a stud?
Crazy. Let's
had to be
careful.
6 or 7.
I think you're being a little bit, you're jumping the gun a bit when you say we. You found them. You found the studs. Then you started popping holes through. And it's like, if it was here, you'd put the screw over here. And I'm like, to the right. Like I've done a little drywalling in my time. And I'm not sure that I would trust you with the big drill.
Looks good, buddy. I think it looks good. Oh, by the way, I forgot to send out a tweet. I normally will send out a tweet right at the beginning of the podcast when we start streaming, just to let people know that we are up and running. So bear with me for 1 sec. Join us on the stream now! Exclamation point. And I'll do my little down arrow thing. There we go. Join us on the stream now. We are live streaming tonight on Twitter and on YouTube, and I think even on Facebook again. I forgot to check last time. We might have been up on Facebook. So we're going to talk a little bit about Draisaitl, about the Oiler game tonight. Going to talk about some concern that I hear from fans about consistency with this group. We'll do that in our takeaway segment. But lots to get to in the game tonight. So let's get to the breakdown, brought to you by my brothers. It's DLR Vinyl Products. That's their company, right? They've got branches in Calgary and in Edmonton. High-quality, maintenance-free fencing and decking products. If you've always had that wood fence in the backyard and you know that it's getting close to time to change it out, really give some thought to going with vinyl products because they're maintenance-free. You don't have to stain. You don't have to sand. And they look fantastic the day they go in, and it stays that way. So DLR Vinyl Products in Calgary and Edmonton can help you out with that. It'll look great. I've got lots of it in my backyards. We're going to drop some into Strud's yard here at a certain point. Highly recommend DLR Vinyl Products, not just because they're my brothers, but because it's actually it's good stuff. You'll give it a rip, hey, Struddy? We'll throw some back in the backyard of the Strudwick house?
Gonna have to, yeah. I'm not high on the maintenance. If you can do something properly the first time,
yep,
that would be my preference moving forward. So yeah.
Well, you're not moving anytime soon, right? Like if you're in the house, you're gonna stay in. That's when you like the maintenance-free stuff is fantastic. If you're in the house, you're not moving from, or if you're gonna be in for 5-10 years.
We're not moving. Oh, we're gonna be there for
Yeah, you have no time to move. You barely have time for 40 minutes of podcasting a couple times a week.
This is the best time. The evenings, late evenings, or early mornings. The rest of the day, it's just full on running.
Yeah, I actually really like doing the late evening podcasts. Like we do a lot in the morning, but I don't know how you've been enjoying it, man. But I really like these late night ones. Just get them done, and the game's nice and fresh in our minds, and just kind of hop in and talk some hockey.
Yeah, and I like it kind of. It's pure, right? I keep my own notes during the game and my own thoughts, and then so it hasn't been adjusted by thoughts from friends texting me or whatever you might read in a newspaper. Like it's just my own pure thoughts. And I think there's some value to that. I'm not saying I'm always right, but what we're getting is 100%. No,
you're wrong a lot. Like
52% of the time, I'm 40% right.
I wonder if people that are regular listeners would judge which of us, like what percentage wise, how are we doing? Like Struds is right 80% of the time with his takes. I'm more like 50 or 60. Or is the balance more for me? Yeah. I mean, I tend to think when we get into it and get on opposite sides of something, I think it's pretty close. I don't feel like I've been dominated on the podcast. No.
Well, the thing is, I think there's various degrees of right in hockey. You can get to somewhere more ways. Now, the one thing I know I've been wrong with is goaltenders. I thought Cam was going to run it. I thought he'd run it right through from January on. Like, not that he'd be playing every game, but I thought he'd be running, hot and playing well. And I misjudged that. And I'm not going to walk away from that. I honestly thought he had it dialed in.
Yeah. Well, and he may yet find his game. I know they would love him to find his game before the playoffs so that he doesn't, that he's usable. But right now, it's definitely Stu Skinner's net. So, okay, let's dive into the game tonight. I think the first place we should start is with Leon Draisaitl's night. So he crosses the 100-point plateau, fourth time in his career. Spec, I think, might have pulled up the stat tonight. The fifth European player to put together 400-point seasons, and the list is like Curry and Ovechkin and Stastny, and I can't remember what the other one was. But point being, he's in very elite company here as one of the dominant offensive players of all time, from a European background. And so there's the big picture conversation about Draisaitl and his offensive play, and then there's tonight. And let's zero in on tonight. Jay Woodcroft said he was by a country mile the best player on the ice, and it wasn't even close. What'd you think?
Oh, I thought I would hear Jay. Yeah. So, I agree. Listen, first off, his accomplishments is amazing, but with Connor at 129 points, it's kind of like
you're already overshadowing him. What are you doing?
But it is amazing. But this is a comparison I make. It's be like if you show up at a party, we go there together, and you bring a 2-liter cooler, right? And I come in with like $300 vodka, and you're like, oh, hey, you're here. Like it's great that I have this cooler, right? Like. It's amazing. Like Connor's almost at 130 and Leon gets to 100 and we're all like, oh, 100, that's great. Way to go, Leon. And here is this guy at 130 or nearly 130. But I remember the first time I saw Leon play, it was a Oil Kings game many years ago. He was on Prince Albert and I had no intention going there to watch him. I just happened to be there that night. And I remember watching this guy thinking, who the hell is this guy? Like I'd heard his name. I'm not a student of the undrafted players, and I just remember thinking, who is this guy? If he can get it, get skating a little bit quicker, he is going to be amazing because I thought he just controlled the game. And now here we are years later, racking up this many 100-point seasons. He's just, and I think when I look at what he did tonight, the goals are incredible and I love the 100 points, but I think my favorite play was the empty net goal by Connor, because he wins the faceoff. Like that was, and I've been talking a lot about that. And people are going to say, well, the faceoffs don't matter. Well, in that moment, it sure does. So you better find a guy that can do it. And I felt last year, especially down the stretch in the playoffs, Leon was that guy. So I'm not going to downplay his 100 points, even though I did. I'm not going to downplay the 2 goals tonight. But man, I love that play because we've been talking about and watching it. And that's the guy I know winning draws at that moment.
We're trying to give the guy some props, and you take him and punt him right back into McDavid's shadow.
Wow. What are you going to do? It's a comfortable place to be because you know what? Yeah. Everyone else is in Leon's shadow when you think about it.
So it's kind of old news for Draisaitl, right? He's done this before. But I thought it was interesting post-game, Struds. It's a bigger deal for the people around him than it is for him. Sure. Because we're sitting there, we're interviewing Warren Fogle, and Draisaitl's behind us, and he's waiting to talk next. Mm-hmm. And Yamamoto finishes getting his gear off, and he walks past Draisaitl and stops, and they, give her the bro hug, gives him a big hug, says congrats, and he says thanks. So there's one hug. And then I think it was Langer, the trainer, comes in and has a word with Draisaitl, same thing, clasp of hands, and then the hug, congrats, thanks. I think I saw him get 3 hugs in the locker room. So it's the people around him who this is a huge deal for. And then we get up there. I don't have the sound because I got home late from the game. But Draisaitl, when he was asked about it, just cast all of the praise onto his teammates, and I wouldn't be here if it weren't for them. And he said all of those unselfish things, but really meaningful for the group, probably more so than Leon Draisaitl.
Oh, for sure. And let's be honest, like his teammates do facilitate, the game for him to play, but they could have facilitated the game for me all they wanted. I wasn't getting 100 points. So he is a special, talented, elite player. And what I love about it, and I've said this before, I love the way he gets his points is different than Connor McDavid and vice versa. Is different than Kucherov, is different than Pasternak. I think those are the top 4 guys off the top of my head, but they all do it differently. And there's not a right or wrong way. It's just what works. What can you make work? And Leon, holds on to that puck, stubborn, strong on it, good shot, finding, openings on the power play. Like instead of becoming maybe a shooter or a passer, there he becomes more of a shooter. Like just so many things about his game that I love. And, but I don't want to discount that face-off win. I've been personally looking for that in those moments. And that was a nice thing tonight to see.
It was interesting because they were in their own end and they were on the right side. Mm-hmm. And Maddie and I were watching, and Maddie made the comment, like, interesting, they've got Ryan and they got Bouchard, a couple right-hand centers. There was no question, though, that it was going to be Leon Draisaitl. And I think it had to do a little bit with they keep track in real time how their guys are doing. And so at that time, Draisaitl was killing it. He was 16-7. So of the 23 draws that he took, won 16 of them and was 70%. So he's the guy that gets the nod in that moment to go out and take that defensive zone draw. Doesn't matter if you went and got a defensive-minded right shot center at the deadline. That's Draisaitl on a night like this.
And he's done it for you before. We've seen it, and that's no disrespect to Bukestad or Derek Ryan, but when there's a guy like Leon, he's feeling it, you put him out there because he was with Connor and Kane. That's Connor, Kane, Leon. Yeah. Those are your guys. I think Nuge is in that conversation. Probably Hyman's in that conversation. I think those 2 righties you talked about. But on a night where guys are feeling it, you are rolling out the big German because he's done it, and he did it last year on one ankle.
Yeah, that was incredible in the playoffs. The level he was able to maintain offensively, basically on one leg. Let's get to the Weiss Johnson Twitter and YouTube mentions. Yes. We appreciate everybody joining us here on the stream tonight. Play of the game was Ekholm's pass, in my opinion. So smooth. That came to us from Luch. Davin says Struds is true value. Ryan is value village. Okay. Oh, that's what I was asking. Which one of us is right or wrong? Also, somebody said GF1 Rish was very wrong about Chychrun. So we saw a chance to see Jacob Chychrun tonight on TV for you and in person for me. Listen, Ekholm was clearly the better fit for the team. No question, the style of play. What did you think of Chychrun tonight?
He moves the puck well, and he jumps. He's quick. We know what he is, and it's not that he couldn't help the Oilers out. Like let's be clear. This wasn't a. I don't think either of us were saying.
Yeah.
We weren't saying Ekholm was wrong or Chikrin was wrong. We just was one a better fit. And so far, Ekholm has proved a better fit. Now, when his contract's still going in a couple of years, will we feel the same? I hope so. Swedes look after themselves. But for right now, the fit's been good because for the most part, I think you're seeing a turn north for Bouchard.
Scrub64 says, Schauger, were you able to dig up anything further on Hyman's injury? No, I mean, we asked Jay Woodcroft about it post-game. He just said he came up, wasn't ready to go for in his best interest. They gave him the night off. Wouldn't commit to whether or not he was going to play next game. Brody Swanson, love Bouchard, but he has a lot of moments where it seems like he loses focus and makes some terrible plays. We all know the one that we're talking about here. There was a 5-star giveaway. One of the first comments on the stream, I lost the name, but it was, how many stakes does Bouchard owe Skinner for that save? When you make a mistake like that and your goalie is there for you. Listen, I'm not going to be hard on Bouchard because I think overall since the trade deadline, he's played really well. His best hockey of the season. But he's still going to have some moments here and there, Struds. Like he's still... And all defensemen do to a degree. I don't sense that it's a ton more for him. Do you?
He has a puck on his stick quite a bit. Boy, that I didn't like that pass though. Right?
Yeah.
The shorthanded goal against. I think the forwards have to recognize. Maybe there's some danger and try maybe get back. Right. So I don't. I mean, he walked right down Broadway and shot a shot.
Yeah.
If someone's going to let you walk right through and hammer a puck there, I think you got to take that shot.
The one that off the end boards and then back the other way. So there's the shot selection there, but then there's the 2-on-1. How do you feel he played the 2-on-1? Because, conventional wisdom, it's kind of like either take away the shot or take away the pass, one or the other. What you can't do is neither. And that's what ended up happening. The pass got through and the shot was still there, frankly.
Yeah, and where were the 4 forwards? Were they also out there, or I think
they were on a power play.
Yeah, so that means there's 4 Sens out there and 5 Oilers, and they got a 2-on-1 against a guy who took the shot originally. So I listen. Yeah. Does he have to hit the net? Yes. Could he play that 2-on-1 better? Yeah, I mean the guy made a pretty good pass, and it was just slivers past him, then it just slivered past into the net. But and where were the other 4 guys? Right? Was there a sense that maybe that puck might get out?
You're always blaming the forwards. Blaming the forwards.
So think about that. The 2 Sens players that went on the 2-on-1, that means there's 4 Oilers below them. 4 of them. So that someone could cycle back up, couldn't they? But they're thinking offense. So yeah. I think the one that I'm more concerned about, just because we saw what happened last game in Toronto, was where near the end of the game, he comes around the net and then tries to go to the middle. And I think maybe he thought Connor was maybe a little closer to him than he was. I love the confidence that he feels he can make that play at any time.
Yep.
But, I want to say there's around 3 to 5 minutes left. I don't have it, right in front of me, but right on the tape. And then save made, boom, puck goes around again. He doesn't really react. Boom, save again. And you're like, oh, geez, what just happened there? Like, get full control, and then there's 2 unreal shots, and Skinner has to make a great save, and you can see Ekholm kind of skate over, and it's just like, okay, let's get out of here. No blood,
This Skinner thing, this will sound like a weird thing to say 60-some games into the season, but I don't think Skinner's going anywhere. I mean, we're really deep into a season here, and he's played really well for a big chunk of the season, and has he had some moments where it's a little bit up and down? For sure. Has he had some tough nights? For sure. But I think what they're seeing is probably what they can come to expect from him. I don't sense this is like a flash in the pan from a rookie that might disappear, when the temperature gets turned up a little bit. He just seems really calm and confident in there, and I feel like his game isn't going anywhere.
Yeah, I think we've crossed that barrier, I hope. Yeah. You mentioned how deep you are into the season. Generally speaking, you just keep playing, and you're kind of feeling that groove. Now, I guess the one thing to monitor is the wear and tear, the energy levels. So that'd be something I'd be very, very closely monitoring. Tonight the Senators were a team that are maybe starting to fall off here a little bit. Would have been an opportunity for Campbell, maybe, but you got to bank these 2 points. The Vegas is rolling. You're trying to chase down the Kings. You just passed Seattle. You want to try to get in that second spot if possible. And it's going to be tough. They do have 2 games against the Kings, so those are must win. But you got to watch the wear and tear on the big man with the mustache.
Yeah, for sure. Back to the Weiss Johnson Twitter mentions. By the way, 45 years they have been in the business. So if you need a new furnace, garage heater, air conditioner, or hot water tank, or any of those things serviced, Weiss Johnson is definitely the place to go. They are Edmonton's #1 choice for heating, air conditioning, and plumbing services. Give them a call, 780-463-3096. That's 780-463-3096. I had the air conditioner put in, had the garage heater put in as well, and both are working awesome. So happy that I called Weiss Johnson. Real quality stuff. Jingle. Back to the Bouchard conversation. Some of the comments are a little delayed here on the stream. But the point that Scrub64 made is, wait a minute. Sorry, it wasn't him. Golden Oil. He can have moments. It's the time of the game when he has those moments. So I guess the suggestion being, it's a tie game. It's a 1-goal game. It's he has a tendency to maybe make some of those blunders at not the best time in the game. It's, understanding there's a certain point to pull the risk way, way back and just make sure. And I would agree that there's a little bit more of that in Bouchard's game than maybe some of the other defensemen who in those moments are a little more likely to make the certain play. If there's an area for him to dial in, that might be it.
Oh, 100%. I mean, we saw play 2 plays last game, though, from 2 young players that, it resulted in goals. This didn't result in a goal, but you need to have those spidey senses, right? Where you're feeling, okay, what's going on here? 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, there's got to be pressure coming to me. And just, I think at that point they were still, I want to say 2 goals up. Just move the puck to a safe space, right? There was a play towards the end of the game where McDavid got it, and he got it on the rush, and he just chipped in the corner. Just got into the offense zone, chipped in the corner. Just put it down there. Make them come all the way through. You can get a change, or the guys need to get a change. Just safe plays, and it's not sexy. No one's putting that on Instagram. Oh my God, did you see Evan Bouchard skate it to the red line, just chip it behind their D and make them turn? No, I didn't. I really wasn't watching. It's not very exciting, but it's exciting at the end of the game because you get 2 points.
Yeah, for sure. Warren Fogle got the call up to the big line with Zach Hyman not available and had himself a pretty good night. Listen, this is a player that's been in healthy scratch territory not so long ago. This is a player who wanted more responsibility this year, asked for it, was given, and the results were up and down. But overall, he's been playing some pretty good hockey lately, Struds, and I thought tonight was a night where, listen, all parts of his game were on display, right? The fantastic feet, the so-so hands, but just the work ethic and the great speed. And I just thought it was a kind of a complete night for a guy where he did what he could.
I love it. I mean, here's a guy that, as you mentioned, was out of the lineup. He gets an opportunity to shine, and he shines, right? He helps, Leon get a couple goals, was physical, hard back check on the one where you kind of give and go with Leon. I love seeing that. And, he was a guy that many people, maybe felt this is a guy that just had to get rid of this contract. Well, he's picked up a couple points. He seems to be banking it, and he's making a difference where he's at. Now, he's not killing penalties, or at least not on a regular basis. So he is kind of struggling for that specialty team time, and I'm not sure why they don't put him on the penalty kill. He seems to fit the bill for me in so many ways with his length and speed. Maybe they don't like the way he's thinking it out there, but I'm glad that he's still here on this team, even at the price point just south of $3 million.
Yeah, I think what's really going to tell the tale of his year is his playoff performance, how usable he can be in the playoffs. Because I think, we all saw what they were getting when they made that trade. We saw the speed. We saw the forechecking ability. When he wants to be physical, he knows how to do it. And the confidence just wasn't there in the postseason. He was almost unusable for stretches during the postseason, Struds. Mm-hmm. And I think he came back this year hungry to do a lot better than that. So for me, postseason Warren Fogle, if he can be a usable player that's actually, if he can keep himself in and around the top 9, that means he's playing well, and that bodes really well for this team if he is playing well.
Well, I think that when they brought him in, that was the plan. They wanted him to be on the third line. Big, fast, strong, all that stuff, right? And he was challenged heavily by Klim Kostin, and to a certain point, Janmark as well. Those two guys really challenged him. And I think right now, offensively, for sure, he is getting that done. Like, I think Janmark gets the penalty killing time, and Kleem is, maybe the opportunity isn't quite there as much for him. You can see him; he's making some big hits and such. But for Fogle, he's managed to come out on top right now. But the crazy and great thing about hockey on a team is that can change. 5-10 games now, it could be Kleem or whoever is moved up from. And don't forget, there's Dylan Holloway in the minors now. Hasn't been playing because of the injury, but there's always competition, and you have to feel that as a veteran and a guy who's in the spot that many other people want.
For sure. Okay, that was a breakdown brought to you by DLR Vinyl Products. We're not done here on the podcast, though. We're going to get to our takeaways segment in just a minute. First, Struds, while you were chatting, I was able to pull up this. So this is what when we first started our video feed tonight, this is what we were looking at right there. Can you see that, Struddy?
Oh, boy. Oh, I can see it. I see it all right.
So this is how it went for us for about 7 minutes before we were actually able to start the podcast. It's like you were coming to us live on location on Mars or somewhere.
I look like that one Seinfeld one where it's is it Kenny Rogers Chicken and Kramer's just sitting there glowing. I don't know why it was like that. You would set it up and everything was perfect, and I turned it on and it's like cockeyed. It's all over the place. It looks like I'm the Red Planet.
Yeah. I love it. I love messing around with this stuff. Like, it's not perfect. We don't have these big expensive sets, but all good, and it's all in good fun. People seem to like it too because they. I get lots of feedback on how messy things can be at times. Scrub64 says Mars. Yes, it was Mars. Okay, let's get to the bigger picture of where the Oilers game is at and where their consistency level is at. Because, I've talked to a few people at the rink tonight and was listening to some of the call-in shows, and it's something that comes up pretty often, right? There's this level of concern that they're not a consistent enough team to really compete with the big teams. So we will get to takeaways brought to you by Sherwood Buick GMC, the number one GMC dealership in all of Canada for 5 years in a row. They actually have trucks in stock too, and a fantastic staff that makes the process really easy. Bought a truck there not too long ago. Easy, no hassle. The financing is easy and quick. The staff is super friendly. The dealership is magnificent. One of those big, beautiful dealerships where they got lots in stock. You don't have to wait forever to get your hands on the vehicle that you want, whether it be used, new, cars, trucks, SUVs, whatever you want. Sherwood Buick GMC is the big dealership just off Baseline Road on the way into Sherwood Park. So a convincing win over the Boston Bruins, blown lead against the Toronto Maple Leafs. First period that was subpar here tonight, where on a rookie goalie, I think they had 2 shots in the first 7 or 8 minutes. People want to know, Struds, does this team have the ability to access their best game when they need it most? Is there a level of consistency that is still lacking, or is that the ebb and flow of every team at this time of year? Really, at any time of year, we just pay really close attention to the Oilers.
Yeah, well, let's start with the positive. There are stretches where they control the game against many different teams. So that's a positive. The Oilers got kind of toyed with in the second half of the game against the Maple Leafs. Well, guess what's happened to the Maple Leafs the next game they played? They get beat by Buffalo, and they looked like the Oilers did in that previous one. So that answers the question. There's ebbs and flows over the course of the season, but you don't want to see ebbs and flow like good game, bad game, good game, bad game, good game, bad game, right? You'd rather have 5 good games and a bad game than 2 good games and a bad game than 4 good games. That's kind of how you want it. But even today, I was hoping to see a very low-scoring game for Ottawa, and they kept them to 2 until the third, where on a very simple play, the Oilers kind of had it. It looked like it was under control. Darnay doesn't quite come out far enough, and Stützle just shoots a puck in past him. That's and again, I feel I don't want to feel like or people think I'm piling on these young players, but it's just an example of how it could be a 5-2 game. Now all of a sudden it has to be 6-3 because they're closing in on you, right? So those are the little details that you just you never know. You never know when your moment's going to come in a shift or in a period or a game when you have to be in the right place at the right time. So just be there all the time. Just be in the right place all the time. And championship teams do that. They find a way to always be in the right place. And the Oilers are still striving for that. And unfortunately, it can be a little frustrating on the ride for both the fans, but quite frankly for the team as well. Because even Leon after the game said, for the most part, we did a few things. We have to clean a few things up. He said it.
I think that the consistency issues that worry fans, I think those can hurt you in the regular season because you leave some points on the board, right? Whether it's a poor start or consistently, struggling against the lower end teams. I think during the regular season is where you're going to feel the pinch of that.
Okay.
But I think in the playoffs, it seems like a different animal. Inconsistency that your team suffers in the regular season, I don't know that comes back to bite you necessarily in the playoffs when, like, the Oilers have shown they can hit a high level. When it's an important moment, an important game, Boston, look at some of you look at their results against the better teams this year, they've given really good games to most of the better teams they've played. And that's what the playoffs are. The playoffs are those moments times 10. And this team, to me, can meet the moment, and they showed that last year. So I think the consistency that stresses fans out costs them points during the regular season, but I don't know what's going to plague them in the playoffs. Is that fair?
Yeah, that can be fair. I guess, do you want to walk into the playoffs thinking, can we recruit our good game right now? Mm-hmm. Can we recall it right now? Like, I would prefer to see a team that's trending kind of up, as you move your way into the playoffs. And there's been some great moments from the Oilers, and they are a playoff team. But, let's say they have 3 bad games heading to the playoffs. Is there time against the LA Kings, who are a good team as well, to find your game in game 1, right? Like, because if you lose game 1, let's say the Oilers get a home field, or let's say they don't even have it. Let's say they have to start on the road. But you lose game 1, now you got to win 4 of the next 6. Right, against a pretty damn good team. Yeah. And then all of a sudden, boom, you're down 2-0. You're like, oh, we got to turn this thing around quickly. It's not impossible, but I just, the playoffs team that seem to do well always seem to be kind of building towards the playoffs. And I think there's an incline they are building. I just like to see it, over the next stretch of games before they bring it home in April, whatever it is, the last game. I would like to see them really dialed in prior to that.
Luch 1717 says, I'm mostly scared of the mental collapses where the team allows 3 to 4 goals in a 10-minute span. Has happened a fair amount. So when bad things happen, do you prevent them from happening in bunches? And I wonder if maybe that's it, like stemming the tide right in the moment. Now, which game was it? They got scored on first. I think it was a Toronto game, and then they scored 6-7 seconds later. So they did it there. But then the other team gets on that heater for 2-3 goals in a row, boom, boom, boom. And they're unable to put that wall up after 1 or 2 bad things happen, and it tends to snowball a little bit. And that can be dangerous in the playoffs for sure, because when that happens, you give the other team the impression that no lead should ever be safe.
Yeah, and that's fair. And that's a fair comment to have. When you're on a good team, you really want to feel that you can win 1-0. You score in the first 5 minutes, that you can play your system and get through it. Power play, penalty kill, everything. You can get through it and win 1-0. Can we say that right now about this team? I think they're still working towards it, right? Yeah. And that's from the netminder out. And not, that's not a shot at any one player, but you might have to win a game 1-0 because some of those games get so tight, and that one goal might be it, and it ends up a 2-0 game or whatever because I'm empty netter. But that is what I want to see from this team. I think they're creeping there, and we've seen great, like you said, that Boston game was a work of art, an absolute Picasso to paint, and to watch was even is fun. So now can they get there? That is, I think, the ultimate test because. If they have to play the Kings aren't an easy team. That is, I think, a tough matchup at center, on D, in the pipes. Could be a pretty good, tough matchup for the Oilers.
You had a point you wanted to make on Darnay tonight as well. I forgot to get to, but look at his minutes overall, Struddy. Yeah. He was 17. I'll just grab it here, make sure I've got it. 1755. Yeah. He played tonight. Not much on the stats line, but 1755. But it wasn't just that; it was his special teams.
Led the team in penalty, or I should say, led the defenseman in penalty killing ice time. He is firmly entrenched as a very important penalty killer for this group. And if you go back and look at his stats, that's most nights. Is where they're really like him out there, and that's
he did lead the team, by the way. Okay, I just checked it. Yeah, we had the most shorthanded time of anybody on the Oils. on the Oilers.
It's not an accident. You don't, oh, geez, 5 minutes. It's like, we want this guy on the ice. So the big man just continues to get it done and can kind of cut his place out on this team. But he takes up a lot of space. He's been pretty good about clears. And I just wonder what this means for Broberg, because they may slip back to 70. But if they don't, Broberg, like, whose spot does he take in that lineup? Just for games played, would Darnay be the natural choice? But when you look at the way that Darnay is being played,
he's not coming out, buddy. He ain't coming out. Try and tell Dave Manson, sorry, you got to sit him tonight.
Yeah, it's not happening. So now you for Broberg, and this isn't so much from development. I'm not worried about his development right now. I'm worried about him being the 7th defenseman and ready to play, because that's 5 games he hasn't played. Now, it's not the end of the world. I'm not going to go on a Ryan Rishaug, Evan Bouchard, a COVID year rant here, but he's their 7th defenseman, and he needs to be ready to play. He needs to be ready to play. So if this goes a little bit longer, I would send him down the minors, get some ice time and play. And because when there's an injury, he'll be ready to go.
9:05, 8:05, 9:58, 7:32. Scratch. Their most important prospect on the blue line.
Yeah.
I don't know. I get it. Since the trade deadline happened and they grabbed Ekholm, it changed the look of things. Desharnais changed the look of things, and I understand that. I'm just not sure why you would be dragging around a player this important, not playing him in games with really no sign that that's going to change. Like, if Hyman's healthy and you say, okay, let's say you try and prioritize getting Broberg back in the lineup. Let's say Jay Woodcroft goes, okay, I got to get this guy in.
Yeah.
Now you're starting to mess with depth lines that are actually coming together and giving you something each game. So now you're messing with those lines a little bit. So maybe they'll just do it. They'll say, screw it, we have no choice, and they'll just do it. But I don't necessarily see a commonsensical pathway to it right now.
I think it's quite easy, actually. I think you just send them down. And this isn't...
Well, that's just it. Exactly.
Yeah.
To get him in the lineup, I meant.
This isn't a demotion. You don't say this is not a demotion because you've been playing badly. There's just 6 guys in front of you, and your time will come. It's not right now, but we need you to play because, like I said, not if, it's when there's an injury, he's the next guy up. Because who's the 8th guy? Who's their 8th defenseman? And I'm assuming Ryan Murray's out for the
I mean, not Niemelainen, Niemelainen, I guess they have down there. And then the other guy they signed there from San Jose was in San Jose for a long time there. He's a right shot guy. Demers is there.
He hasn't seen the NHL rink in a while. So, you're not banking on this guy to bang out 20 minutes. So, like, this isn't development. This is nothing else. This is just for me to make sure he's ready. And you're going to need him. You're going to need him, buddy. And it could be game 1 of the playoffs that you're going to need him.
Any comments you want to get to there? Dr. Gonzo just said, is that Struds or the Edge? Which I think is a little bit of a, the Edge from U2, I assume he means?
No, I don't know.
Oh, okay. Well, I think that's what he meant. It made me laugh.
Yeah, no, I like it. I got one here.
Yeah,
this
go.
is from the Bison mask guy. I'm guessing he's a big fan of Janmark. Oilers game wasn't the greatest game tonight. Situational awareness, game and time management needs to be tuned. Last 3 minutes wasn't good at all. The back-to-back icings can't happen when a team is pushing. 25 and 5 deep pairing needs to switch up. Thoughts on deep pairings 25-73, 14-2, 27-5. So basically he's suggesting Nurse, Desharnais, Ekholm, Bouchard, which I believe is already together.
Yes.
And then Kulak, CC.
So swapping CC and Desharnais is the suggestion here.
In English, yeah.
Yeah. Listen, I think he's been good. I don't know that he's ready to roll out against the guys that Nurse plays against, though, night in, night out. I mean, I don't know. I'd be careful about that, I would say, at this point.
Well, tonight he just, his Stützle found open ice, quiet ice, boom, goal. Third goal right there. Yeah. Boom. That's the top line guy. And I'm being critical, but I'm not being critical, actually. I'm just telling you what happened out there. Not you, but the Bison mask guy. So, when you're properly slotted, the game feels easy. Not easy, but you can control it and you feel like you're doing your job. When you get pushed up the lineup, that's where things can start going. And guess what leaves first? Your confidence.
Yeah, for sure. No question. And I think that CC proved he can do it against tough matchups and such in the playoffs. I just think that they got enough from him when it really, really mattered to kind of ride out what has been a tough, at times, regular season. Would that be fair? Because I think they would assume that when the playoffs start, he'll be ready to get back to that level that he kind of pushed before.
Yeah, battle tested, right? And he was in there. So you got to give him the benefit of the doubt. I think that the addition of Ekholm, and then I think Bouchard just continuing to find it. And, the power play is looking more and more confident all the time. I thought a little bit trouble on the entries today, but that's not all on him either.
Yeah. Ran into Noodles in the press box tonight. I asked if he wanted to come on the pod, and he's like, yeah. He's like, yeah, for sure. I'm going to be out for some beers with buddies.
Yeah.
But just go ahead and text me, and I can hop on.
Yeah.
So, I mean, we have the option of calling Noodles right now if we want, but he's and by the way, when I say, oh, who are you out? Like, what's your plans? He's like, oh yeah, just gonna meet up with the Arkells. Just gonna meet up with the Arkells, my buddy, and he shows me a picture of him, and he's always like he's always got somebody on the go. Hey, he's always wheeling and dealing in those circles.
But he's not coming on. He is not coming on. And honestly, any shape he's in, we don't want him on at that point either.
We could try and call. Nah, we won't. I mean, we're up live, so who knows what he says if he hops on the phone.
Let him have the night. Let him have his night off. He grinded it out. A big Ottawa Senators loss today on TV. Regional broadcast. He needs a break.
He does. Okay, well, listen, that's going to wrap the stream. This was a late start tonight, so we're not going to go as long as we sometimes do, but we're going to wrap it up. I like the debut of the new set, Struds. Although I am sitting here looking at it, wondering if if I turned my lights off, would we match a little bit better and look better? Like maybe I'll try that real quick.
Could be. Well, I mean, our necks will never be the same size,
my,
right? So
earpiece.
Your narrow shoulders will never look the same either. But
my what? My narrow shoulders?
No, who said that? What? Who said that?
I unplugged my thing. Were you chirping me?
No, 1 second. I don't think so.
1 sec. I'll turn the lights off. We'll see if this looks better.
Don't tell anyone.
Okay. Off.
Jeez. It's got a lot going on over there.
Would that work better?
I do like it, but I mean, you got to do
we match better that way, hey?
Right. Yeah. I like it better. I mean, I'm not fond of the blue Christmas lights, but you got to do what feels right for you.
Do you not like my podcast lights?
I don't love them. No, I know you like them, but you got a lot going on. You got a lot of stuff on the shelves.
You just saying it now?
I think I said it to someone in passing. Zoobs, I think. I don't know. Whatever. I don't want to throw anyone under the bus. Maybe it's TR. I don't know.
Well, the stream is weighing in here. Reaper says better without the cheesy lights. Dr. Gonzo said that is legit better. No one loves blue lights. The Bison Mask guy says podcast lights look good. Mike D just said this is great. So I think he's just enjoying the vibe. So thanks, Mike D.
In general.
Love the natural look. So Rob likes that better. I don't know. I might have to lose the lights. I always thought that the lights were kind of unique and a little different. And maybe not. Maybe we should get you lights, and then if we both have lights, it'll look good.
No lights. I like it simple. I like simple. Obviously, when you have the Mona Lisa, you put in a nice frame. You don't put lights around her frame, right? You let her shine. I don't
think either one of us are in danger of being in that category. But you know what? Legit improvement, though. You look better. Your set looks better. The podcast feels more professional. Thought you even did a better job today on the new set. Better energy.
Brought some zip.
Okay, that's going to wrap up the podcast, folks. Struds, thanks. Have a good night, my man. We'll chat this week. Oilers in, Dallas in a couple of days?
Thursday night, right?
Is it Thursday? Okay. Well, we'll do another podcast later on this week, buddy. So take care. Have a good night.
You too. Bonne nuit.
Bonne nuit. Okay, folks. Thanks for tuning in here on the live stream. We appreciate you. Thanks for all the comments. Big thanks to our sponsors, as always, Mr. Dirk, DLR Vinyl Products, Sherwood Buick GMC, and Weiss Johnson as well. Have a fantastic finish to the rest of your night, whatever's left of it. And we'll touch base again real soon here on the pod. Cheers.